Hello folks, this is Jeremy with Modest Mechanic, and we're going to go through a quick DIY on how to replace your pads and rotors on any brakes, pretty much, front or rear. This is a rear brake with a drum parking brake, so we don't have to worry about compressing in the piston with some sort of special tool. So, here we go. First, remove the caliper. On this, you're going to have to remove the caliper by removing these two 14mm nuts. Bolts. After bolts are removed, wiggle wobble until caliper comes up. Hang caliper with appropriate hanging tool. After caliper is hung with appropriate hanging tool, next is removing the caliper mounting bracket. Once again, we have 14mm bolts right there and right there holding on the caliper mounting bracket. Remove those. Once you have removed your caliper mounting bracket, it is time to remove these annoying, painful, not needed anymore screws. To remove these annoying screws, you need this tool right here. This is an impact driver set, and while I have them loose already, you need to hit the back of this with a hammer while holding the impact driver in the position in which you want to take it off or put it on. In this case, we want to take it off. Whack it once, sometimes more than once, and it breaks loose, and then you remove it just like this. This specific rotor has two of these little impact screws that are holding it in place. Once you've removed those two impact screws, remove the entire rotor. Depending on if you're going to use the rotor over again, as in you're going to turn it, you might want to be a little bit gentler on it. Being gentle includes beating the front of the face instead of hitting on the surfaces that the pads connect to. If you're not going to be reusing this, you still want to be smart when hitting it, because you can potentially damage the wheel bearing itself. Hitting too hard in one direction here can kink it off to the side. Twisting it, and this is something that we all do, we hit it, twist, hit, until it's ready to come off. But be careful and be smart about it. You know, on top of that, you don't want to swing a hammer and hit this, and then, God forbid, it falls down and hits you right in the shoe. Make sure you're wearing nice and steel toe or safety toe boots. But, alright, let's get this off. A couple whacks on the hammer on the front of the face will help break this seal loose. If you need to, spray a little bit of penetrating oil there. So, a couple whacks right there, busted us loose. And now the entire rotor is ready to slide off. This is called your parking brake. It's not an emergency brake, it's a parking brake. It's important to spray this down and get it cleaned up, get all that dust, all the brake dust, and some of that rust off of there, and any kind of growth you may have in there. Sometimes spiders and other insects like to spin their webs or set their nests up in here. Get it all out of there. You want to make sure there's nothing interfering with your park brake hardware on the top or the bottom. That's your adjustment. That's the piece that engages. The words are escaping me. Anyways, that's what engages your park brake. Comes through on this side. Comes through and activates right there. On this brake job, we are using new rotors. Now, you may notice I have this in backwards. That's specifically because we're here to get rid of all of this glue / oil, whatever the hell it is, that's covering this rotor to help prevent it from rusting and corroding early. Use approved brake cleaning fluid to clean it all off. Spray it there, or spray your paper towel and wipe it all off. Oh, much better. No more funky glue. Or oil, whatever it's called. What is that? Not glue. Anyways, next we're gonna flip it over and do the same thing. There we go, that looks better. Next, what we're going to do is 100% up to you. These annoying little set screws that go in these holes right here are not required to go back in. These are specifically installed during production so the rotors don't fall on the people who are building the car. But if you choose to install these screws again, make sure you have some anti-seize on it so they come out next time. This more than likely is not going to be the only time that you replace these rotors, nor is it going to be the only time you have to remove the rotors. So if you're going to reuse these screws, make sure it's capable of coming back out without fighting. Couple things real quick. You do not need to use that impact driver to put those back on at all. Another couple things. I didn't show, but I used a brush, to clean up the edges here where this rotor sits on this hub. It's important to make sure you have a nice mating surface. This front portion here, you can clean that up before you put the wheel back on, but for the sake of installing the rotor itself, just make sure where it sits is nice and clean. We'll get to scrubbing that portion off before we put the wheel back on. Okay, next what we're going to do is reinstall the mounting bracket. I lied. Next thing we're going to do is remove these pins here and apply lube. Those, to pull them out is pretty easy. This is a little rubber boot that holds onto the edge here. These come out just like that. That is old. You can see the color of what the grease should look like, what it came with stock, compared to what it looks like now. What is that? Is that dirt? Is that old metal shavings? Is it something else? I don't know. More than likely dirt that somehow got in between there, and that's why it's turning colors. But we want to clean it all off. If you want to go hardcore, you can stuff something in there and try to scrub all that old brake grease out. But I only see people doing that when your guide pins here have a seizing problem, as in it's hard to get them out, or it's hard to get them in, or you had to use machinery pretty much to pull these out. And if you're going to reuse your brake caliper and your mounting bracket, which at that time you should just replace it because it's probably pitted on the inside and has a lot of wiggle room. If you're going to do that, just make sure you scrub it out very well. Anyways, we're going to clean this using the same exact paper towel that we used to clean our rotor off. You can use brake clean if you'd like, but the most important thing is get all the old stuff off so we can put the new stuff on. There we go, nice and shiny. That's not grease. This is what we're going to be using, CRC brake and caliper grease. Synthetic. It can be the stuff that comes with the brake pads, but I like to use this kind of stuff. Actually, a matter of fact, I like to use some purple stuff that's super high temp ceramic. Okay. Yeah, same color as what we just removed, but I promise, that's fresh. Okay. You're gonna paint it around. You don't need to glob it on, just a little bit, and you're gonna stick it right back in this hole. You want to push as much air out as you can, because if you have too much air, you have too much lube, this will immediately start pushing itself back out, and that becomes an issue because then it's gonna make one of your pads wear. Anyways, you're gonna tap it. You'll hear the air escaping, and you'll feel it want to go back in and sit down properly. That's what you want. You want it to sit there and be in just like that. On to the next one. Same exact procedure. Cleaned off, and now it's time to paint it. Stick it back into the hole. Push it all the way in until it seats itself. Jeez, like that. Next, remove these little spreading springs. These are put on the pads to assist pulling them off of the rotor so it doesn't wear them out too fast. Then we are going to remove the pads. Sometimes they come out super easy. Sometimes it's a pain in the ass. One way or another, they have to come out. Once pads are off, we're going to remove the brake hardware. Now, it's important to try not to break these. Sometimes your pads don't come with new hardware. And when they don't come with new hardware, you have to reuse the old hardware. Do not ever not use hardware if your pads, well, excuse me, if your calipers and your caliper mounting bracket comes with hardware. There are some, note, some models that don't have hardware that go on the mounting brackets. Sometimes it's just on the pads themselves. But no matter what, if it comes with hardware, use hardware. Next part is totally up to you. If you want to put the mounting bracket, clean that off. If you want to put the mounting bracket on before you put the hardware on, you totally can. It's, 100% up to you. I'm going to put it on before I put the hardware on. But first, I'm going to clean that nasty stuff off. Here's a question for the audience. Are you a torquer or are you an ugga-dugga? Is it properly torqued? Or is it good and tighten? Next! Hardware. Hardware installs like this. Just like that. Just kidding. Make sure it's measured up properly on both sides. We don't want anything accidentally rubbing onto the rotor, because then you have to take everything off and try to find out what's scrubbing, and that's such a pain in the ass. Rule of thumb for hardware: does it need to be lubed or does it come with its own lube? So I have been told stainless steel requires no lube. So if your hardware is already shiny and stainless steel, don't put lube on it. I've also been told that this paint is its own lube, but I don't like that. You know, it's just paint, and it's going to wear away, and it's going to be a pain in the ass. So I will apply a small amount of lube here. What I've been told is if it's got a whole bunch of hatching into it, then definitely add a lube. Otherwise you're going to catch, and it's going to cause improper wear, it's going to cause noise, and it's going to be an all-around pain in the ass. Pad time. We have a pad that has no screecher. We have pads that have screechers. Which screecher goes on which side? How do we tell? 99% of the time we look at the old pad and we find out where the screecher's at. And then we try to match said pad up. After you find out which of the inner pads with the screecher that you're going to be using, install. Come back here. Slide it in the bottom. Slide it forward and to the top. Work with me here. I'm making a video. And pop. Just let it set. Then we grab our pad without the screecher, which is our external pad. We do the same thing. Pop it in. On top, bottom. Wah, done. Caliper time. Can we install it like this? No. We have to compress this caliper in. Now, a lot of people are going to tell you that you have to drain it out while you're compressing it. I don't like that, because we're going to do a brake flush as it is. So grab your appropriate caliper compression tool and compress. Wow, now it's done. Anyways, I forgot to mention that you want to inspect this boot. Make sure it's not torn. Make sure you don't have any cracks or any leaks of any fluid coming out, because if you do, then that's a bad juju, and you're either going to rebuild this entire caliper or you're going to install a new one. Lube up the outside of the pads and make sure you're installing them the right direction. I don't know how, but people install these pads backwards. How? Verify that your hose is not pigtailed when you go to install it. You want it nice and straight. And when you install it, there shouldn't be any twist. There should be a single bend going from the bottom all the way to the top, and that's it. Installing it is just as easy as removing it. Boom. Installed, minus the screws. Same question as before. Proper torquey. Das ist gut! And voila, folks, there we have it. Brakes have been installed. Rotor and pads. Lubed up calipers, lubed up pads. Everything is done properly. Next, I'll show you how to do a brake flush.